Welcome back, folks. I'm Frizz, and today I'd like to talk about a part of Pathfinder 2e that does already exist, but isn't anywhere near prevalent enough. Variable action abilities. As you probably know, every character gets 3 actions each turn in combat. Generally speaking, abilities either cost 1, 2, or 3 actions to utilize, but sometimes you can actually choose how many actions you want to invest into a particular action. Magic Missile is the perfect example of this, as it's a spell that can take anywhere between 1 and 3 actions to cast. For each action that you use, you shoot an additional unerring missile of force. There are a few abilities like Magic Missile that take a variety of actions to cast, but they aren't all that common, and that's a shame, isn't it? As these abilities are a ton of fun. They allow for people to play around with the action economy more directly than normal, and since the action economy is one of the best parts about 2e's game design already, more ways to mess around with it is absolutely a good idea and is worth it. Similar to what I've been talking about, I'd also like to see some more spells or feats that allow for you to spend more than one turn, activating something. Some spells with that mechanic were added in the Secrets of Magic rulebook, but since none that I can think of have been added since, I'd like to see more of them. I understand that they're probably harder to make since they take up 2 full turns in combat, which is a little bit of a mess, but it's still such a cool idea that I really hope that Paizo in the future continues to provide support for those kind of spells. Now though, let's talk about some ideas for abilities that could use a variable amount of actions. I've got a couple that I think could be very interesting. Alright, so first up, how about a feat that gives you an attack where you just take more time to aim? Now, rather than giving a bonus to accuracy on a strike or something, I'd imagine this would work a little bit differently. If you spend 2 actions, then you roll 2 strikes without MAP, though you do take something like a -2 or -3 penalty on them. Then you take the higher of the 2 rolls and determine the result of your attacks. So basically you attack once, but you roll twice and take the better with a penalty. If you spend all 3 of your actions though, then maybe you roll 3 times and take the better while taking a penalty, or maybe you only roll twice, but the penalty is a little bit lower. Rolling multiple times and taking the better is a super powerful ability that not many classes can remotely get access to. But I think it's a lot more reasonable if you make it take up multiple actions and applying a penalty on top of that. You wouldn't want to do this all the time, and you literally couldn't because it would take a variable amount of actions. But I think it'd be a really cool ability. Now, kind of related to my last video, is that actually a pretty fun idea for a skill feat that would take variable amounts of actions. It would work pretty similar to Assurance in that you could take this to affect any skill, although only one skill at a time, so if you want it on 2 different skills, you'd have to take the feat twice. Then, anytime that you use that skill, you can voluntarily take more actions than normal to do whatever the skill requires. So you could spend anywhere between 1 and 3 actions while grappling someone. In exchange, whenever you get a +1 bonus for each additional action that you use. So let's say you want to try and demoralize someone, so you spend all 3 actions, you would roll with a +2 bonus. Honestly, if anything, I think that spending all 3 actions might deserve getting a +3 bonus. Part of the reason why I like this as a feat is just because there are a lot of times where you really need a skill to work, but there aren't any real ways to really increase your odds of success. Like, if you're a swashbuckler, this could really help you get into Menage. And who knows, maybe this would actually give a chance of disarming someone to be a viable combat strategy. There's so much room for interesting stuff going on with variable action abilities. Seriously, I can think of tons of ideas to utilize this mechanic, and I'd love to see what Paizo could cook up more of. Like, imagine a spell that did damage in an area, but the more actions you use, you can increase the damage and maybe shape the area around your allies. I'm done throwing out ideas now though, don't worry. I hope that you agree with me though, since variable action abilities are super cool. Thanks for watching. I feel like my point in this video is pretty obvious, but can you blame me? Magic Missile is honestly so much more interesting than it's ever been, and I want that level of cool to be more available to different types of characters. what ideas that you have that might work for variable action abilities. Remember, this doesn't have to be just spells, since some martial classes already have access to some feats that cost a variable amount of actions. Let me know in a comment down below. And regardless, until I see you next, live a wonderful life.